Mm. I always feel better when the Yankees win, especially against the Boston Red Sox. Two close games, 3-2 yesterday, 3-1 today. But the Yankees did what they needed to do. Okay, they had timely hitting. David Torres, Willie Calhoun, with his home run, and Domingo Germán, 6 innings of run ball. Two good starting performances in a row against the Red Sox. So a stingy team and a good team. So yeah, that's what it looks like, Brandon Moore. Judge, expect him out for 4 to 6 weeks. This is different than a break. This is like a ligament thing, and he got a PRP shot the other day, but um, this is this is the toe is temperamental, and he's a big dude. It's not like me. Where I'm 5'10", 170 pounds. He's like 6'8", 270. So it's going to take him a while to recoup from this. But that said, if they keep doing what they're doing, I mean, they could hold this team together until he comes back. So, but missing Judge, yeah, I mean, it's his presence is felt, obviously. So, and it stinks when he's not there. You know what I mean? So, but shout out to everybody in the chat. Got into Consigliere Joe, Train. Yes, Maz is in the house. Sean, Jonathan. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Peanuts in the house. We have Jim Riley from BALLCAP Sports coming on a little bit too. We're going to go with the state of our franchises. So I hope you stick around for that. It's going to be a good time. It's a good time. And that's the he's feeling a little bit better, Peanut, but it's still, for precautionary purposes, I think it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks. It can be less, but I'd be shocked if it were, to be honest with you. Yeah, Boone, quick, with Herman, but I'm not surprised. I mean, 40% of the starting rotation's hurt. Last thing you want to do is overuse a guy or push a guy a little bit too far and have him have some kind of soreness or injury, and then we'll be out 60% of our rotation. So I get what they're doing. So I get it. And the problem is, I mean, if we have more hitting, and Joel's absolutely right, it would be a little bit easier to push the starters a little bit more, I think. But I mean, they're using their bullpen quite a bit. I'm still confused as to why they're not using Matt Crook. He's here. Wandy shouldn't be the only lefty they're using, but it is what it is. So Torres went 2-for-4 with a homer. Josh Johnson 0-for-4. Willie Calhoun 1-for-3 with the key home run too. Let's see. Jake Bowers 0-for-2. Giancarlo Stanton 0-for-2. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa 1-for-1 with a pinch hit base hit. DJ 0-for-3. Billy McKinney 1-for-3. Kyle Gashoka 1-for-2. And Anthony Volpe 0-for-3. And in terms of pitching, Herman went 6. 6 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, 3.49 ERA. Get the win. Wandy Peralta with a clean inning, 2 walks though. So Tommy Canley with a clean inning. He's looking good since he's been back. And Clay Holmes, I gotta tell you, Clay Holmes is looking a heck of a lot better than he did, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. He had a 5-something ERA. Now he's down in the 270s now. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. His ERA is like 270. So shout out to Clay Holmes for getting it right. His stuff is there. His face, his fastball has bite to it. So I'm really happy to see that. So I feel better about Clay Holmes in the late innings now. I don't know what you guys think. Sean Browning, Jimmy Mathers is in the house. Who else? We have Rose. Shout out to everybody. Really, shout out to everybody. And just do a quickly roll call here. Quick shout out to everybody. Jonathan's in the building too. Yeah, man, I was really relieved that they didn't face Rafael Devers with 2 guys on. That would have sucked. So Bader needs to be the leadoff hitter. Brandon, I don't disagree. I mean, he's got speed, he's got injury, he's got hustle. I mean, he's got energy, he's got hustle. So 50-50 Gleyber Torres could be traded for. I think so. A starting pitcher, and if they can't get a starting pitcher, a good reliever with controllable years. Either one would help the Yankees. Remember, they're like 4 relievers down, even though their relievers are playing well. The bullpen, we're out a lot of guys, and we just lost Ryan Weber too. So we have to keep that in mind. So I do expect them to bring in a reliever and probably a starting pitcher at the deadline, and probably someone else. And it depends. Now that we're hearing rumors about Juan Soto being on the potentially being on the trade market, I'm guessing they'll be in that one. I think we can forget about Shohei Ohtani. So unfortunately, but it is what it is. He'll be a free agent, and if they want to go after him, then they can. But personally, I've said I would go. I mean, I would go after Soto over Ohtani at this point. He's 5 years younger. 5 years younger. So Peter Risbergs is here too. Yeah, Willie, man, he's been Calhouning the hell out of the ball, hasn't he? Yes, he has. Booyah's in the house. What is happening, gang? D-Rod is here. Quellen Athar. What is good? Where? Yeah. Sale has a fractured shoulder. Yeah, I mean, Sale can't get a break. He really can't. Yeah, it's just when he's starting to pick things up, it happens again. So I feel terrible for the guy. I really do. It's a good pitcher. NFE's in the house. Dude, NFE today I had like the morning of 1,000 kicks. I did so many side kicks and back kicks and all different types of things. Like spinning kicks, axe, crescent, 360 jump spinning crescent in the air. My leg, I'm feeling it in my legs, my hips, man. Yeah, Ty Boogie's here. What's good? Joe Mangilla's in the house. Kobe's here. All right, Dev is here. What is happening, man? Juliet is here. We got my man Mazza from Ford Train up in his place too, man. It's a party when Mazza gets here, man. I'll tell you that. Manny Rondon. Be sure to smash the like, gang, if you don't mind. Let's get over 100 likes as quickly as we can. I want to show Jim Riley some love here too. When he gets on, he'll be on shortly, and then we'll be going over our stuff too. So it's always a good time when Jim Riley comes on. Yankee Mike, Stephen B, Mike Cassier. We got some. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome. Yeah, I'm happy with this one. Now we got a shot to win the series tomorrow. I'd rather win the series than lose two series in a row. We lost the White Sox series, unfortunately. That was a winnable series too, but the 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 air. I mean, it was just a messed up week. So with all the stuff that happened with the wildfire. So um, Manny Rondon's in the house. What is good, Manny? A lot of folks are saying send down Volpe and bring up Peraza. I think bringing up Peraza to be up here with Volpe, I think it'll make Volpe better. Peraza tends to play. Well, obviously he's played well, but Volpe tends to play better offensively and defensively when Peraza's here with him to push him. So, and I think it would take some pressure off him being the rookie with all this expectations. So I really do. Oh, without further ado, we got the very special guest, my man. Riley from BALLCAP Sports is in the building. Jim, what's going on, man?
Well, I'm pouring. I'm pouring into my my baseball bat mug. Oh shit! Look at this. There it goes.
Nice.
Look at that. Look at that. Pour one out for the Blue Jays today, who got their ass kicked. No, you know what? Things are good, man. This was actually a from a personal perspective, this was one of the best days. Period. My son is an all-star. We played the all-star game today. We went to an Orioles game.
Nice.
Because we live in the Baltimore area. We went out. I mean, it's awesome day. Awesome day. Would have been nice if the Blue Jays could have played along with that. They didn't get the memo that today was going to be an awesome day. But it is what it is. Congratulations to your team getting a win today against the hated rivals.
Yeah, it's a go. They needed it. I mean, I got some good pitching again. I mean, our bats have been, as you know, sluggish.
Yeah.
One of the things with the Yankees is one guy gets healthy, the other guy gets hurt. It's just a nonstop rotation of one guy in, one guy out, one guy in, one guy out. It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy,
Hey,
but they're hanging in there,
Yep.
And so the Blue Jays, like the AL East is going to be a beast. And I do think if one team is going to go all out at the trade deadline, it's probably going to be Baltimore. So
I don't know. I think that ownership group. I think the Angelos family. I mean, they can't get on the same page just within the family.
It's true.
And that front office, the ownership at the beginning of the offseason last year said it's liftoff from here, and then they did nothing. They signed Kyle Gibson. So the Angeloses are not talking to each other.
True.
The ownership is not talking to the front office. So I don't think that they will. I think they're going to screw it up. I can see them making a trade. I do see them improving some pitching because
pitching.
But I don't think they're going to go out there and give up anything substantial. Could be completely wrong, but this team, this ownership group, Orioles fans know there's nothing to trust. There's nothing to feel good about that group.
It's true. I don't know. My gut's telling me they're going to surprise us somehow. But again, I think it's going to be trade rather than free agency where the spending is going to happen. So I think
I guess it'll depend on injuries because right now, like you could see with the Shane Bieber rumors that have fired up.
Yeah.
It's right there. Anthony Santander for Shane Bieber. It's there. Both teams get what they need. Cleveland needs more pop. They get that with Santander. They both have the same amount of time remaining in arbitration. The Orioles get their pitcher for not just this year, but for next year.
Yeah.
Orioles don't have to shell out a ton of money for Bieber. They can ride out the rest of this arbitration and then probably let him walk. But Santander, there's a good chance they were going to let Santander walk anyway. So with all of these things, it's right there. It's a perfect fit for both teams. Now maybe Baltimore needs to add
Yeah.
a piece or two into that deal. MLB trade values, the valuation on Shane Bieber is wrong. It's too high. The valuation on some of the Orioles pieces is too low. I think here's a trade for you. We're supposed to be talking Yankees and Blue Jays.
Oh, good.
Talking Orioles. Here's a trade for you. Shane Bieber to Baltimore, Anthony Santander, and DL Hall to Cleveland. The Orioles have botched DL Hall. DL Hall's been up twice, and it looks like he can't pitch.
Yeah.
Send DL Hall to Cleveland, and DL Hall will be doing what we're seeing right now with Logan Allen and this Bybee kid. So it's just what they do. DL Hall should be going to the front office, Mike Elias, and saying, please trade me to Cleveland.
That's a good idea. I was wondering myself if Santana was going to be enough for Bieber. Because
It would be. I think they would have to add more, but I don't think it would have to be an insane amount more. I
Yeah.
think you probably had a decent prospect and then maybe a lower level prospect. And I think you should be able to kind of start to put together the aspects of a trade.
that's an interesting trade. Do you hear rumors now about Juan Soto potentially going back on the market?
I can't see it. I don't think so. San Diego, I can't see him doing it.
They gave up a lot for him. They're not going to get the same in return when they send
No
him
way.
out.
Exactly. They gave up too much a year ago to give
Yeah.
up on him because, and with how much they've invested in Darvish and
Yeah.
Machado and Tatis, they've showed you whether the window needs to be propped open, the window to compete needs to be propped open or not is irrelevant. The window's open
Yeah.
for the San Diego to try to compete, and
Okay.
Soto's there. Soto's going to remain there. It's not. I don't think anything's going to change.
I
As
mean,
far as
I
that
was
goes.
saying this earlier. I think the only reason they would move him is if they cannot come to terms at all on an extension. Like
Yeah.
they just can't figure it out because they're trying to extend
Right.
him and Josh Hader. So, yeah,
Yeah, the hater. Right? No, I mean they've got all the reason to because
Wow.
they want to compete with the Dodgers. They want to compete with Arizona now. Right? They got a lot to compete with. They're not giving with the money they have spent. Again, even if they got to prop that window open, they've shown you
yeah,
what the window is. It's now.
yeah. And they just put up all that money for Xander Bogaerts. Like they're going for it as much as you possibly can. They're essentially
Yes.
the nationally in the NL West version of the Mets. They're getting everybody. So it's
Tell me
working.
tell me how the Yankees feel about the Mets right now. Tell me how the Yankees feel about the Mets right now.
Well,
Don't hold back.
They're
Don't
probably-
hold back.
they're probably like shit. They probably feel pretty good about themselves because this whole $360 million expenditure for the payroll is backfiring tremendously. Don't get me wrong; they have the talent, but it's just not. It's not happening the way I think they're hoping it was happening. It would happen. So, and even Steve Cohen saying like, "I'm not going to blow it all up yet. We're going to figure this out," and he's going to stick with his team. So, and kudos to him for that. But
Yeah.
it just goes to show
Yeah.
you, bringing in a lot of mercenaries doesn't win the war, guys. It's just and you got to bring the right guys too.
No,
So I think
it's not.
this is part of a learning process for these guys too. Like, and it's
This
just
is well,
yeah.
think about what this does for the free agent market,
Oh,
right?
God.
Like this is a Mike from Stark Raving Sports made a great observation. So this is not my own. I think I would have eventually come to it, but he made the observation first. So I want to give him credit. This is going to tell other teams not to spend
Yeah,
because it did not. It's not. If the Mets don't turn the ship around, it's a perfect example as to why I'm not going to spend on free agents. I'm going to build up my prospects and I'm going to sign my young talent. And that's how we're going to go about this. I'm not going to go out there and spend a ridiculous amount of money on other guys. Look what happened with the Rangers. It backfired with DeGrom. It is
Yeah.
backfiring with the Mets. It is backfiring with the San Diego Padres. All over the place. It is even backfiring for your guys with Carlos Rodon.
Well done.
All over the place. The Cubs, Dansby Swanson is not doing it. All Carlos Correa with the Twins is not doing it. It's
No.
happening everywhere.
And who looks to have the right formula right now? The Atlanta Braves. They're locking up all their young kids for a decade. They're getting them on the right side of 30 instead of the
Yes.
other side, right?
Yes.
And you got
Yep.
all these guys for 8 or 10 years. It's going to be a nucleus to make
Yep.
them super competitive for the next decade.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
why would you not do that as often as you possibly can? So
Yeah.
they're doing. I think they're onto something.
Who are
So,
the guys? Who are the guys right now with the Yankees who would be who you would give that Atlanta Braves type deal to? Would you give it to Glaber? Glaber's got to be. Is Glaber overdue? Or would you think about it for Volpe? Would you do? Would you, who would you give it to? Would you give it to anybody right now?
Oswald Peraza.
Yeah.
I think he's more major league ready than Volpe was.
Mhm.
I think he's a more seasoned long term piece, and I think he's the best defensive infielder in the whole entire franchise, major or minors,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and he's quality with his bat. He's clutch. Volpe's going through a lot of developmental, pains and whatnot. And I'm not surprised. He's got some things to work through.
Yeah,
He's a
but
rookie.
this is the time to do it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is the time to do it. April, May into June, and if you get to a point where in a month he's still struggling, then
Yeah.
explore options via the trade market. It's what the Mets should have done with Vientos. It's what they should be doing with Mauricio. The Mets are going to call up Mauricio at the wrong time.
Yeah.
They called up Vientos. They didn't play him. Now he's going to play because Pete's hurt. Get it out. So the fact that they're
Yeah.
getting this out of the way with Volpe right now is smart.
Yeah, I would agree. And honestly, personally, I would not call up Volpe I mean, down Volpe and call up Peraza. I want both of them up here because when they played together, Peraza made Volpe better on both ends. Okay, he complemented him extremely well. And I would move Volpe personally to the second base position where it's a more natural fit, in my opinion, for him. And I would
Mhm.
have our best defender at shortstop, which is Oswald Peraza. And
Right.
we have Wiz at the corner already.
Yeah, but
But
what are you doing with Glaber? Where's Glaber in that
I'm going to
situation?
trade him for pitching. It would be tough, but I don't think the Yankees are going to extend
So
him next year.
here's the thing about the pitching right now that we know is available. It's all rentals,
Yeah.
right?
No.
It's guys that are going to walk. It's Marcus Stroman.
Yep.
Shane Bieber would not be a rental, right? Shane Bieber would have another year attached to him, and
Mhm.
that's a good trade right there.
Mhm.
Bieber and Glaber. Yeah, again, Cleveland. I think Cleveland, if they trade Bieber, they're going to prioritize a bat that can help them still compete this year. And the Santander thing works with Baltimore. A
Oh, yeah.
Glaber thing works with Cleveland. But here's the problem. You know what Cleveland doesn't have? They don't have a ridiculously short right porch for Glaber to hit home runs out of.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
what's Glaber gonna do in Cleveland when he doesn't have that short right porch?
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I would add a left-handed hitting prospect with that. So just to kind of complement the offense a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you're right because most of his home runs go to the opposite field, and
He's totally doing it. He's doing it on purpose. It's a con. I mean, they all are, right? Stanton's hitting line drives the other way for Glaber's doing it constantly. Volpe, I mean, they're all doing it. They know that just push it the other way.
it's true. It's
Yeah.
true. And
It's
I
smart.
honestly,
I would want my team to do it. I would want my hitters to do it.
yeah, and honestly, Peraza. Torres has a credible replacement in house in Peraza, who can replace his offense
Right.
and even go superior defensively. So to me, it makes it easier to trade Torres, who has trade value. And again, if I'm going to trade from a position, it's going to be from a position of strength, which
Yeah.
is the infield stuff. So, and I would address it, try to get some either. Like I said, I did a video on this, and people think I'm nuts, but like I would go after a good starting pitcher like a Bieber or an elite reliever, like an elite closer with multiple years of control.
Hmm.
Okay, to add to the bullpen because we're down like four guys in the bullpen. Even though our bullpen's pitching well, we're down a
Right.
lot of big arms. So somebody like a Bristol Gratterall from the Dodgers with 4 years of control, somebody like that. Like I would love Anthony Munoz from the Mariners, but you're gonna have to add to Torres to get him. So,
Right.
and I understand that, but like if you can get a good reliever, with controllable years, that to me seems like a feasible trade too for the Yankees.
Not
Um,
now would be the time to deal Glaber because
yeah,
he's built his value back up.
yeah, he's very streaky, very streaky.
Mhm,
Got to catch him while it's hot. Like, and again,
mhm.
like, and I have a feeling like some of the AL East teams are going to strike before the deadline and maybe take some targets off there that the Yankees might be interested in. Because
Yeah.
with the way that this division is like a bloodbath, they're going to
Yeah.
want to lock up some guys that can help them in the stretch. And I think they're going to do it before the deadline. So I think more teams are going to be proactive this
Yeah.
season than not.
Speaking
So
of the division, if you guys could keep beating the shit out of the Red Sox, that'd be great. Please. Yeah, let's just can we bury the Red Sox as far under 500 as humanly possible?
They're
You know,
pounding their asses, man.
they're 32 and 33 now, Boston is. Just got to keep shoving them down, tell them get out of here.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah,
need you to be a part of this. You're not invited to the party.
yeah, exactly. I'm
We'll
sick of
see
the
you
Rays
next
getting
year.
hot again. Yeah, I'm sick of Tampa Bay getting hot again. So like, get
Yeah.
out of here, Boston. Get the freak out of here. And
Mhm.
they do what they
Mhm.
can with Baltimore, but I don't know, man. Baltimore frightens me. Toronto still frightens me. So I mean, yeah, that's just the AL East, you know. But like, what's
Baltimore.
crazy, like Toronto's record, in April, you guys are 17 and 10, May 11 and 17, and now you're 7 and 3 in June. So ours is completely opposite. We were
Mhm.
14 and 14, then 19 and 10 when we started getting healthy, and now
Right.
we're 3 and 4, and now we're 4 and 4. So, and again with the Yankees, the healthier they get, the better they get. And now more guys are injured. We're not playing the way we should be playing. So,
I
um,
mean, that's the injury. I mean,
wow,
it can derail seasons, right?
yeah,
It can just stop you cold. This Aaron Judge thing.
brutal,
What are we
brutal.
doing here? What are we thinking? How are you guys feeling?
I'm thinking 4 to 6 weeks minimum. Honestly, it's the toe. He's very temperamental. He's a huge guy, so it's going to take, I think, a longer to recover because he needs his toe, he needs his feet, he needs his lower body to be able to
Yeah.
move functionally, right? So, and I think they need to be smart about it. Don't rush the guy back and then set him back another 8 weeks or something like that. Play it
Mhm.
smart. And
Right.
hopefully along that time, Stanton heats up, Rizzo heats up. Hopefully, we'll have enough to hold us over while they're being smart about Judge. But I think it's going to be at least 4 to 6 weeks. I don't buy the 2 week thing. I just don't.
Yeah. I mean, if he's out that long, then you get to a scary point where you
Yeah,
need him to stay healthy the rest of the way
yeah,
because you can't get to a situation where he plays 110 games this year. You need him. I think you need 140 from Aaron Judge. And if you're going to miss a month's worth of games, that in this division this season, because also the X factor for our American League East teams is the American League West and what's going on with Texas and Houston.
yeah.
So we can all have a wild card spot unless Houston and Texas one of those teams crashes the wild card party, right?
Hmm.
Otherwise, we can all but one of us can have a wild card spot, except unless that happens. And then the Angels, speaking of teams that I think might get aggressive at the deadline, because they have every reason in the world to be aggressive at the deadline because they're trying to show Mr. Otani that he should stay. And if
Hmm.
they can hang around and be a 500 or better team by the middle of July, they'll be buyers. So there's a third team, and who knows if Seattle can flip the switch.
Yeah.
So that AL West is the potential X factor to multiple AL East teams grabbing all these wild card spots.
Do the
So
Angels do the Angels have enough to make a big trade?
I'm glad that they called Joe Adell up. Joe Adell was raking at AAA. If Joe Adell can mash here for a month, then Joe Adell might have some trade value. Again, the what's looming here when we think about the trade market, because I've already sort of done a little dive into what I think is the situation with the market. And because a lot of these pitchers are rentals, you know, and on top of it, they've had streaky runs in their career to where, it's not like you're getting a guy who's just been great. and that's
Yeah.
what he is. He's a great pitcher constantly. It's Lucas Giolito,
Yeah.
who's been up and down. It's Marcus Stroman, who's been up and down. It's Lance Lynn, who kind of sucks this year. But maybe you get him, you don't have to give up much, and he can, bulldog his way for you. It's a lot of guys. It's Jack Flaherty. So it's a lot of these players, in my opinion, anyway, that are those like they should not require a haul,
Yeah.
right? Bieber's going to require a good number of pieces, and Stroman is pitching to a point where he will require some pieces. But the Angels could trade for Lance Lynn and not have to give up hardly anything.
Yeah.
So, and again, Lance Lynn might be terrible, but maybe he's not. And if it doesn't cost you anything, then you can throw him into the mix. So, but you bring Joe Adele up. If he can mash, then they could, if they trade Adele because they want to go big, they want to go Bieber, or they trade Tyler Ward. I think that there's pieces that the Angels could put together. They can't go to a point where they're buying like 2 or 3 guys, but they could potentially make an impactful move. I do think so.
Yeah, I would agree. And maybe they can even get someone like Zach Plesac. He was DFA'd, hasn't been released yet, but he's still out there too.
Yeah,
On the
that's got to
cheap.
be coming to a resolution here really soon.
Yeah, it's generally what's the time period from DFA to release? Maybe 2
Like 10
weeks.
days. I think it's like
10
10
days?
days.
Yeah.
I
So
want I want I want I want these guys to go get him with the
yeah,
whole Alec Manoah situation. And
just gonna ask you.
I think
Yeah.
today further exemplifies. Is exemplifies the word? It might not be. It shows you why they need to go and get him, even if he's not good. What the Blue Jays have right now to take that 5th spot in the rotation, we already know is not good. Everything they have at AAA, we already know is not good. But what we know, Plesac has been in Cleveland this year. We know that wasn't good, but we don't know if he'll be good or not for us. So the
Yeah.
fact that maybe he could be good for the Blue Jays puts him head and shoulders ahead of everything else that Toronto has right now. Because it's everybody. The AAA team, the Buffalo Bisons, have one quality start as a team. The whole team, anybody that has started for the Bisons, only one time all season have they logged a quality start. You got ERAs over 6 and 7 for these guys, and they DFA'd Anthony Bass, and the guy that took his spot was Mitch White. Blue Jay fans, Mitch White gave us nightmares last year after they traded for him. And he came out today and he sucked. So what are we doing? Like, give Plesac a spot on the 40 man.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't know if they're going to be the team that gets him, because during this process, Cleveland's maybe trying to work out some trades, but I'd be for it, because there's a question mark. How would he pitch for us? I know how Mitch White's going to pitch. I know how Thomas Hatch is going to pitch. I know how all these guys that are going to fill in that number 5 spot are going to pitch. I don't want to go to bullpen days because I don't want to tax the bullpen.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can't be calling guys up from AAA left or right, because nobody can pitch at AAA
Yeah.
at the major league level. So
Yeah.
that's why I want Toronto to go for
Got a
it.
big arm too. He's got a big arm. So
He's been good in the past.
Yeah.
He has shown that he can pitch effectively at the major league level. Thomas Hatch has not. Everybody that Toronto has as an option for that other spot in the rotation, those guys have not shown that they can pitch effectively for more than 1 or 2 starts in a row. Zach Plesac actually has done that. So that's another reason why I would be all for that.
Yeah, that's that's an upgrade at 5. So definitely an upgrade at 5. Now,
Yeah.
now going to Manoah, what do you think needs to be done for him to kind of get back on track here?
Well, I mean, the word is it's going to be a complete and total reset.
Really?
And that's just what it is. So this is what I think is going on. I think that the pitch clock has completely ruined him. I think a lot of pitchers are dealing with the pitch clock in different ways. Zach Wheeler didn't like the pitch clock for a little while, and it is what it is. But with Alec Manoah, the pitch clock is bothering him. and whatever you want to call it. You want to call it conditioning, you want to call it weight, you want to call it mental, you want whatever angle you want to go with it. Um, it's bothering him, and he's not able to. That's what I believe, and I believe that's why the velocity's down. I mean, we're seeing velocity down everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Because these pitchers are not able to take longer times in between pitches to basically to simplify things, to gear up and throw it hard again, right?
Mhm.
So they can't do that. And we knew that would happen.
Mhm.
What has also happened though is that his sliders is moving less. So there's a control issue too that is happening towards the back end of at bats. He'll get ahead of hitters, but then he can't put them away. He'll be ahead 0-1 or 0-2, and then next thing you know, it's 3-2. And those three pitches that were called ball like weren't even close. It's happening too frequently with him. And the only thing you can go to is the pitch clock. That's the only thing that's different this year that was what
Yeah.
wasn't happening last year. I mean, and I went back and watched starts last year. It didn't look like Manoah was a guy that was, slowing the game down to a ridiculous rate, but he was able to build back up in between pitches.
Mhm.
And he doesn't have the time to do that now. I don't think the man needs to go out there and lose a ton of weight. I really don't. I think he needs to figure out how to pitch with the pitch clock.
Yeah.
I do think Alec Manoah could keep his frame or keep something close to his frame. I think he just needs to learn how to pitch with the pitch clock, and it's not going to happen at the major league level, not at this point, right?
Yeah.
Go down there, go down to the instruction complex or wherever he is down in Florida, and start to come up with a strategy for how
Mhm.
to pitch with the pitch clock. That's what
Yeah.
needs to happen.
Gotta figure out how to make it work for him, and it's
I
gonna
think he
take.
can. I
Yeah.
think he can. He's just gotta learn how to pitch differently. And because here's the thing. People might say it's a weight thing. So I want him to lose a bunch of weight. I want him to go run. I want him to build up his cardio. Well, that also may take miles per hour off of his velocity,
Yeah.
right? Who he is why you saw what you saw last year with him. All right.
Mhm.
And that worked. But there's no pitch clock. Now there's a pitch clock. So who he was last year doesn't work this year. And you want him to go lose a ton of weight. Okay, he may go lose a ton of weight and he'll lose even more velocity on his fastball. Right? Because it's not just your arm whipping through that makes the
Yeah.
ball go fast. It's your whole body. Right?
Yep.
It's the momentum. It's your driving force with your legs. He can squat a truck. It's your hips, right? There's so much that goes into it, and that's what he is. So if he goes and loses 30 pounds, he may be even less effective. So he's got to try to figure out a way to pitch the way he is right now with the pitch clock. And if he can't, then I don't know, maybe he could just go become a dominant closer somehow. I don't know what it is, but they gotta figure it out. And I'm glad they did what they did. They sent him as far back because can you imagine if they sent him to AAA and he got lit up?
Yeah.
that would have been a disaster.
It'd be brutal. Yeah, it would have been brutal. And
Yeah.
it reminds me of CC Sabathia because I've never seen a pitchers whose pitching was affected so much by their weight loss or weight gain.
Yeah.
And Sabathia was like they drop him, they wanted him to get fit and drop weight. And he lost miles per hour off his fastball. He lost
Mhm.
and then he put it back on and he was throwing 98, 99 again. So this is
Yeah.
like a direct reminder for me of CC Sabathia.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
I don't know how well CC would have done with the pitch clock, but yeah, you're right about that. It's definitely affecting a lot of people. Like Max Scherzer hates it with a passion. Like
Mhm.
a lot of guys hate the freaking pitch clock. So
They didn't come up with it.
yeah,
This is not how they
yeah,
learned.
it's
This
true.
is not how they learn. So we cannot expect everybody to be as effective
It's
as they
true.
were before. There are going to be casualties. And if one of the casualties is one of my guys, that sucks, right?
Yeah,
I want them to try to figure out a plan. I kind of wish, and maybe they did, and it didn't matter, but I kind of wish that, these guys, before they got to spring training all off season, start throwing around January, we had you were throwing with a clock in mind, right? Like start thinking about, oh shit, this is actually really hard.
Yeah.
I need to figure out how I'm going to do this. I need to figure out what my approach is. I need to start off with off speed, right? I need to throw my fastball instead of throwing my fastball 30% of the time. I need to throw it 20% of the time, and I need to count on this more. I don't know what it is, but some kind of strategy to still be effective and to still be able to pitch.
Yeah, and that's the key. And you're right too. Like starting with some off speeds and heat, starting to do some things
Whatever
from
it
the stretch.
is.
Like
Yeah.
gradually build yourself into this because like guys like Max Scherzer, like you said, too, he's like 40. He's never gonna adapt to this stuff. But you
We may
know,
find and Verlander's struggling too.
yeah,
We may find that these, older pitchers that were able to extend their careers
yeah,
can't
mm,
with this. That starting pitching is a young man's game. Like that may be something we learn with this. It'll take us a few years to figure that out, but we may find that with the pitch clock, starting pitching is a young man game. After 33, you're toast, right? What did we learn with running backs in the NFL? After 30, you're dead,
yeah,
right? In the NFL today, after 30, forget about it. You can be dominant at 28 and toast at 30.
mm-hmm,
So we may learn this with starting pitching that you're great up until a certain point, and then father time just works against you,
yeah,
and you're just not the same guy because I would expect a 23-year-old trying to throw gas at a quick pace can do it more effectively than a 33 or 34-year-old can.
oh heck yeah. And there's not
Yeah.
many of them like that. So I'm really happy that Garrett Cole's kind of working well with it because he's already been a workhorse. He's a big, strong guy. He's a flamethrower. So I'm
Yeah.
glad he's not like collapsing on the sun with this. I'm glad he's embracing it to me.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
and he was also like a thinking man's pitcher too. So to me, he's got like a little bit of that thinking. Get Greg Maddux and that bulldog Nolan Ryan in him. So
Mhm.
I'm glad it's working for him. And but you're right too. It's not working for everybody.
It's
So
not.
I think Nestor Cortez is one of the victims of it too. And I think a combination. I said this the other day. Generally the rule of thumb of baseball is when you, especially going through the system, they don't like to add another about more than 40 innings pitched per season as a
Right.
gradual progression type thing. Well, he went
Right.
90. He added 90 last year, Cortez, and
Really.
yeah, and that's the biggest increase, and that's double, more than double the recommended. And now, and
Mhm.
I get it too because it was him and Cole and like nobody else, right, with the
Yeah.
Yankees. So I
Yeah.
think it's affecting him. I think it's affecting his performance this
Good.
year. I also think with this pitch clock, he tends to start fast and then he slows down throughout an at bat.
Right.
And I don't think he's benefiting from that either. So I think it's a combination of being a little bit overtaxed and not
Mhm.
adapting to this the way you should. That's
Yeah.
making him a victim of this pitch clock too. No,
Yeah. I mean,
that's
it's affecting. It's affecting everybody.
yeah,
Some are able to adjust to it, some are not. Um, you know, you know, on the Blue Jays side, Kevin Gausman's been amazing, right? It's not
he's good.
bothering him.
He's good.
Um, Blue Jays have gotten good stuff for Burr. I mean, that's the great thing about how things have fallen for the Blue Jays is Manoah fell off, but the Blue Jays rotation feels like it's stronger right now because Chris Bassett
Yeah,
is great, and the pitch com with him able to call his pitches is it makes all the difference. So
mm-hmm.
you've got Bassett pitching great. Bassett is going to be a candidate for the All-Star game.
Oh yeah,
Gausman is one of the best pitchers right now. Gausman's going to be a Cy Young candidate. Jose Barrios has bounced back. Yusei Kikuchi is not a disaster. Yusei Kikuchi gives you a chance to win games now, which he wasn't
mm-hmm.
last year. And Alec Manoah is struggling. Last year, the Blue Jays were dealing with a situation where Kikuchi was getting ripped every day. Barrios was struggling more.
Yeah,
If you sent Barrios out 10 times, 8 times, he was getting blitzed. And they didn't have a number 5 starter. They were trying Mitch White. They were trying all sorts of guys because Ryu was out of the equation. So the Blue Jays rotation, despite the fact that Manoah totally collapsed this year, is stronger than it was last year. And last year, Manoah was this one of the Cy Young candidates.
It's true. And
Yeah,
maybe Manoah needed to collapse like this to learn him how to face some serious adversity to build himself back up, maybe even
yeah,
stronger than he was before. So that would be a hell of a
good.
comeback story if he did that.
He
Like,
could, and I think he's a tough competitor. I think he will make it back. I mean, he's that's that's not going out on a far ledge. I think he's going to get back, and he's going to be an effective pitcher at the major league level.
I
It's
think so
just
too.
he's got to figure it out.
Yeah, I think so too. He's tough. He's got a big arm, and he's already kind of playoff tested now. He knows, playing in this tough and intense
Mm,
environment. So he
yeah.
knows what it's like. He's been there. And honestly, they need a guy like him too. So,
Hmm.
and add him to those other guys, and he'll learn from Gossman. He'll learn from some of these other guys. So
Right.
I think it's a good fit. So I mean, I hope he comes back, and I hope he comes back strong. So I think the game is better when you have a lot of these pitchers in the game. So, and to me, it's more interesting. It's more fun. So I'm really hoping that he gets back. And again, it'll make the AL East that much more fun.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Indeed.
and I mean,
Um,
it's crazy, but it's true.
how you feeling about Rodon? Might be actually heading out to a rehab assignment sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm finally feeling better. When he got that shot, the cortisone shot in his back,
Hmm.
he recovered from it better than he's recovered from anything. And since then,
Hmm.
he's been recovering better after bullpens, and he's already up to 94, 95, 96 now, and
Yeah.
with live hitters a couple times. So I'm really happy that he's out. And honestly, we need him back too. We need Rodon. And if he
Yeah.
comes back healthy and dominant, it makes it easier for me to feel like they could trade Severino for offense.
Well,
So
that's the timing for this looks good too, because they're
yeah,
talking about July. He could be back, so you should have a feel for what you have with Rodon.
yeah,
Get him a few starts before the deadline, so you can maybe move some pieces.
yeah. And again, he's a gamer too, and if he can get
Yeah.
these guys out with his high heat like he's been doing the last couple of years,
Mhm.
and do it consistently, I think he'll be good. So I'm excited for that. And if you get him and Judge back, it's almost essentially like two deadline acquisitions in July.
Yep. Yep.
So I'll take it if we can get them both back at that time. So and Bader coming back in a few weeks. So again, they get healthy.
Ooh, see, that's what. Okay, you bring Bader up, and I'm glad you brought Bader up. He's got to be the guy that of everybody that's going to be a free agent. If you could only have one back, he's got to be that guy, right?
I've asked the people on the channel if you had a chance, if you were going to extend Bader or Torres, who would it be? I'm picking Bader. Okay, because he's
Yeah, he's
head and
elite. He's
shoulders.
elite defensively.
Yeah.
He's clutch.
Yep.
I mean, Glaber's up and down. Glaber has shown that he cannot play an elite defensive position. They had to move him to second.
Yep.
How long until he can't play second? And then you're parking him at DH at the age of 29. Um, yeah, I love Bader for you guys, and I
Yep.
also love how he thrives in that market.
Yes.
You got a guy that just seems to rise up
Yeah.
in that environment, and with so many guys that shrink in that environment, for him to love it, thrive on it, and play harder in it, I got
Yeah.
that's I he's one that if I was a Yankee fan and I had a Yankee channel, I would be every stream, everything I did would have a push to extend Bader now, because I think he's got to be the top priority.
Yes, and he reminds me of Bryce Harper too. 'Cause Bryce Harper has that energy, and I think he would have thrived in this market too. Bryce Harper, I was heartbroken when they didn't get him because he plays like Pete Rose. He runs around a base like he's being chased by a beehive.
Yeah.
So he just hustles everywhere. And
Mhm,
Bader brings that same energy, that swag, and
mhm.
that clutch type of playing here. Elite
Yeah.
defense, clutch hitting, and again, I mean, Gleyber Torres, if he plays well, he's probably still going to get. I mean, like, if you look at all the shortstops, they've been really, really streaky, but they've got $200 million contracts. I think he's going to get a 9-figure deal after next year, Gleyber Torres. Whereas Bader, you can probably get him for a 5-year deal, maybe around 75, probably about half the price of Gleyber Torres, and equal or better production.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a better investment if I'm them because and like I said, they already have somebody who could back up Torres credibly in Oswald Peraza. We don't have that in the outfit. I mean, I like Jason Dominguez, but he's not ready yet. We got other guys, Spencer Jones, Everson Pereira, but this is Harrison Bader, the best defensive center fielders in all of baseball.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
if you're looking at your outfield in like 3 years, it's got to be Judge. How old is Harrison Bader?
28, I think.
Is he 28? Maybe 28 or 29. In 3 years, your outfield's got to be Judge, Bader, and Dominguez, right?
You would think
That's what
so,
it's got
yeah,
to. That's what it's
yeah,
got to be.
yeah. I think so. And that, I mean, you get
That's how you. I mean, you've got a great. You have a great. Who knows how these guys are all going to age? Bader when he's in his early 30s. You'll have a plus outfield if that's your outfield. Plus to great outfield if that's what you got
Mhm.
defensively. I'm talking defensively.
That's true. And I know a lot of folks think I'm crazy, like, guy, with the guys, let's trade Torres, all the guys hitting. So, I get it. But again, when you have somebody that has trade value to help you address, and this is only my opinion, so you can disagree, but like when you have a guy like Torres who can help address other positions in a trade, and you can already replace in house having to make a trade, to me it makes sense, right?
I
And
don't
I
think. Let me think. Let me. I'm pull up your depth chart right now. Your roster. So
Yeah. And I mean, some of the depth guys like Willie Calhoun, I like the fact that the bench players that they brought in this year are contributing. They're
yeah,
playing well in place of the guys that are hurt, so I like that.
yeah.
We haven't had that in a while, but like Willie
Well,
Calhoun,
here's
Jake Flowers, like,
right. The
no,
fact that you guys don't have to. You guys really don't have to worry about money. So the
no,
fact that like if you go into a situation where Josh Donaldson's playing 3 times a week, right? And you're getting DJ LeMahieu in at third or whatever you do, right? Like you don't have
mhm,
so you don't have to. You're not making any decisions based on money. You're making decisions based on making the team better and having the best
mhm.
team on the field. I think you could probably because what well, let me ask you this. What's the piece that you want in return? If you're sending Torres out, are you is it bullpen that you're looking to what are you trying to get?
I want a pitcher. I want either
You want a starter?
a starter who can be, if you can get a Bieber somehow and add to Torres, I would love Bieber. But if you can't get Bieber, then I want somebody who can throw every 5 days reliably, keep them
Mm.
in the game. Maybe step down because it's gonna be hard to get a number one for just Gleyber Torres. I don't think that's gonna happen. We're gonna have to add to Torres, right? So what number twos are out there? I think somebody will present himself at some point. I don't think it's going to be Marcus Stroman. I don't think the fit's there. But a couple other guys might be a fit. But I would go hard after Bieber, obviously.
Um,
But if you can get a reliever, like a big arm with multiple years of control, like a
yeah.
Gratterall from the Dodgers, somebody like that,
Well,
then
Gratterall, right. And Gratterall shouldn't I mean, if the Dodgers want Glaber in return for Gratterall, I think you say no to that. I just don't think you do that deal. I think you want to try to get Gratterall for a prospect.
yeah, I
Somebody
mean, if you
that's
can do
somebody
that,
that's not proven at the major league level yet.
yeah, if you can do that, then heck yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even bet on
Yeah, I
it.
mean, there's gonna be a lot of there are going to be a lot of relievers about now. Dodgers are probably not going to trade Gratterall because it's the Dodgers are trying to compete. But I mean,
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. Like, here's the thing: the good news is like Kansas City's going to have some relievers that are available,
Scott
and
Barlow.
and the Rockies are going to have some relievers that are available. And I don't. I think their front offices don't know what they're fucking doing. I
I
think their
agree.
front. I think their front offices are lost. So you can go out there and take Everson Pereira and be like, "Hey, check out this Everson Pereira thing that we got here." Um,
So true.
I give me your top reliever, and I'll give you this Everson Pereira. He's amazing, and he's ready now. That like try to hoodwink somebody. I don't know. I
Yeah.
I would I would I would from a hitting perspective. You're best if you're able to move forward the rest of the way because think about how old the team is too.
Mm-hmm.
Glaber's one of the few guys that's a regular right now that's in their 20s. Rizzo's 33, Stanton is 33, DJ is 34. You got Donaldson 37. Who am I forgetting? There's somebody else in there. Judge is 31.
Yeah.
So like you got a guy in in the 20s And I know there's pieces coming behind him. So I mean, it's a fair point. How much longer till Glaber is a free agent?
2025. He has the rest of this year and next year. So a year and a half.
All right, so you've got 2 years. So you gotta keep him now, but next year he might be a piece that is used because at that point you'll know how good Volpe is. You'll know what you have with Peraza, right? If that's got to be your second base shortstop combo, and at that point, there's nowhere for Glaber to play
True.
because Glaber cannot play third. At least I don't think he can. I wouldn't trust him over there at third,
No.
and he's not your first baseman.
No.
So that you get to a point where there's nowhere to put him. I mean, do you tinker with the thought of putting him in left field? Like that's the only way. If you need the bat, the comment being that Glaber's, one of the guys hitting. If you need the bat, do you think about putting him in left field?
I don't
If
know.
I mean this is the conversation. This is a question I think you got to think about.
Mhm.
Again, when Volpe is an everyday guy and when Peraza is an everyday guy, that's your middle infield. So there's nowhere for Glaber. You're
Mhm.
not putting him in a corner infield spot. So you got it. You're not putting him in right
No.
because you need a cannon in right, and you need to be able to cover ground in center. So your spot is left.
Mhm.
It's left field, and we talked about how. I mean, your thought about you want Glaber or do you want Bader is really not. It's not necessarily just a this year right now thing. It's a 3 years down the road thing. Where's
Yep.
Glaber's place on this team when Jason Dominguez is at the major league level playing in left or right field, wherever you want to put him, center field, and Bader is in one of your other spots. Bader fits this team better moving forward.
He does.
But again, that doesn't mean Glaber goes now. That means that Yankee fans need to be prepared for the day Glaber goes because there's just nowhere for him. I mean, you're not going to put him at DH at 28.
Nah. Nah.
I guess maybe you could, but his bat's not even good enough for that. Like
True.
you stick him at DH if he's a 40 homer guy.
Yeah.
But if he's a 20 homer guy, that's not even DHable.
It's so true. It's
So
so true. And this is the seed that I try to plant in the hands of a lot of folks. And I'm glad you're saying this too because it's I do think it needs to be thought about. And again, like and it's one reason I trade him for pitching if I can, because it
yeah.
opens up a spot. It keeps the left field spot open for somebody who's a more natural fit or something like
Yeah.
that. And again,
No, yeah, this is what you do. It'd be great if you guys could get a really nice catcher.
oh
All
yeah,
right. But I think your best bet is to try to develop that.
hmm
I don't know what this Rortvit guy could be, but like but you have another one. Who's your other catcher? You guys
Austin
have a
Wells,
catcher.
Austin
Wells, right.
Wells.
So you guys want to try to develop that. So develop the catcher. First base, that's where you make a free agent splash with first base, right? When
Mhm.
Rizzo's eventually moving on, whenever that is, Rizzo, you just go get another first baseman through free agency, right?
Yeah.
Your middle infield is set. We know who that is. Third base, that's another spot
Mhm.
where go get go get somebody for third base. Your outfield is set. So
Yeah.
it's first and third are the two areas that you're thinking about when you're trying to improve the team via free agency. Those are your two spots because I don't see in the system as I'm just sort of browsing through this here. I don't see you guys. There may be like a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old that could play a corner infield spot, but there's nobody that's going to help you win in 24 or 25 that's coming up through the system at the corner infield spot.
Yeah, I mean, the only guy I can think of is Andres Chaparro, but again, he's got a big bat, but I mean, it's
How
not. There's
far
no.
away is Yeah, how far away is
He's
he?
in He's in AAA. People think he's going to be called up this year,
Okay.
so he could be. I
Okay.
don't see him being called up before
So so
Peraza.
if you So if he comes up and he's one of the guys, then again, figure him out for which, where you're going to have him, where you're going to
Mhm.
put him. And then the other corner infield spot, that's where you make a free agent splash or you
Yeah.
go get a big stick and, either via trade or via free agency.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk about this kid Murakami, the Japanese player, but I think he's like 2 years away. So,
Right.
um, but I
And
don't
you
know.
never, those guys so
Um,
frequently end up on the West Coast lately.
yeah, so true.
They
So
used to go to New York, but they don't anymore.
true. True. I mean,
I
they
know
used to
Senga
live in
just
Boston.
did. Senga just did. So people might be able to comment in the chat Senga, and I understand that. But Suzuki went to Chicago. Yoshi went to Boston. You had Otani go to the Angels. You're seeing there's a guy that went to Pittsburgh. You're seeing these guys.
Mhm.
New York is not a lock to get these guys, and the only reason why the Mets got Senga is because the Mets were willing to pay as much as as much as they were.
So true. It's true. And again, like I still think Otani's going to stay west after this season. Um, I'd be
Yeah.
surprised if he didn't go west. I really would be.
I
But
agree. I agree. I think the only way he ends up on the East Coast is if an East Coast team trades for him at the deadline.
yeah,
I think
and
that's it. And I don't know if the Yankees or the Mets would part with the prospect haul it would take to go and get Otani and then know that he doesn't want to be on the East Coast.
yeah,
So
exactly.
we're gonna have to convince him to stay. So we're gonna give up these prospects and we're gonna have to convince him to stay.
Yep, that's true.
That's that would be
It's risky. It's very
surprising.
risky. Like
Yeah, extremely. I mean, that's the one way to, show him what it's like to be put him in pinstripes,
yeah,
right? Put him in Yankee Stadium in October. Let him feel that and fall in love with that. Because right now, he doesn't love where you are geographically.
so
But if
true.
he can get over that because he loves being in pinstripes and he loves October baseball, he loves the crisp air, he loves all of that, then that changes things. But the only way
Mhm.
that's going to happen is if the Yankees trade for him.
Yeah. And then speaking
Costs
of
a lot.
trades, if you were the Blue Jays, Jim, if you can make one big trade at the deadline, what would it be at this point right
See,
now?
that's a strange thing about this team is I don't know. I
Yeah.
really don't. When I think about the trade pieces that are going to be available, I think pitching is going to dominate this thing.
So do I.
Um, I've done my trade bait power rankings now 2 weeks in a row, and 8 of them are pitchers.
Phew.
8 of the top 10 are pitchers. The 2 bats that I have are not even guaranteed to be available. Cody Bellinger and Jorge Soler. Those are my 2 bats, and I don't even know if they're going to be available.
Yeah.
So when I think about what the Blue Jays need, you know, they've got lefty bats now. The they've got the glove that can come in off the bench. They're number 1 in defensive runs saved this year.
Wow.
And so they don't need to improve the fielding. They have the lefty righty mix now. They've got 3 catchers again. Now Heineman is not got a bat, but Heineman's good behind the dish. Um, they've got a rotation. I just talked about the rotation, and Ryu is probably going to be back at some point this year. So they've got it's really good. So there's bullpen pieces they could add, and that would probably be where I go. But I don't want them to overpay for Aroldis Chapman or Liam Hendricks. I don't want them to overpay for Scott Barlow or get into a spot where the Pirates make Bednar available and or like relief pitching is so volatile. And a lot of times, if you take these guys out of closer roles, like Bednar out of the closer role from
Yeah.
Pittsburgh or Barlow out of the closer role in Kansas City, they're not as effective.
True.
So I don't really want them to go crazy. I'd like them to make a smart uh, addition for that bullpen, but that's really it. Like, I don't want them. I mean, Cody Bellinger is kind of interesting, but I mean, we don't know if Bellinger's going to be available. There's a path to where he could be available because
Yeah.
it's a mutual option. But even still, like right now, if they traded for Cody Bellinger, that means Brandon Belt is going to have to sit, and Brandon Belt's playing really well right now.
Yeah.
So they don't have a glaring need, even with the Manoah thing. The one area where they could go for it is bullpen. And again, don't go crazy.
Yeah.
The trade they made last year, where they traded away Jordan Groshans for Zach Pop and Anthony Bass, is kind of what I'm looking for again this year.
Okay.
So it's not a headline grabber. It's not, maybe some agents and some teams and some camps will use the Blue Jays and leak the name and float the team out there as interested in to try to get some activity from other teams. But I don't see Toronto going crazy at the deadline, trying to acquire and bring pieces in. I mean, the one thing that's interesting might be Shane Bieber because there's another year of control there.
Yeah.
But if they're doing that, I don't
It's hard.
I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things where if you're the Toronto Blue Jays front office, you have to prioritize. It's like, okay, we will be adding to an area that's already a strength. Now it makes it even better. But when we're trying to prioritize where we're going to spend our assets, where we're going to be, spending this prospect equity we have, are we going to do it? Are we going to invest that in an area of the team where we're already feeling confident about?
Yeah.
Now, somebody could get hurt, could go down tomorrow, and all of that could change, right? Gosman could go down, and then all of a sudden, yes, Toronto is in the market for Giolito, Stroman, and Bieber. But and Romano could go down tomorrow,
Yeah.
and then they'll be in the mix for Chapman and Hendricks. But as the team sits right now, it's probably going to be relatively quiet. What about you?
If San Diego kind of falls out of contention, and they just kind of acknowledge it, does Josh Hader make sense? He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Would he cost more than some of these other guys? I think he'd be a fit in Toronto.
Hader would be interesting, but Hader's not. I'm actually going to say this. I don't know if Hader would be the closer.
Really? Wow. Oh man.
That's how much they love Jordan Romano.
Damn.
The fan base loves Jordan. I listen. I think they would both get save opportunities. They would probably play the matchups, right? If 2 or 3 lefties are coming up, they'll go Hader. But if it's all righties, they'll go Romano. It would not be an exclusive situation. I truly believe that in my heart. 100% of the people that are watching and listening to this are like, this guy's fucking crazy. I'm never. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and I can understand why you might say that. But that's I know this team. These guys love Jordan Romano, and Jordan Romano is one of the best closers in baseball. When the Padres traded for Josh Hader, they didn't have a solid closer. So that's another thing. We're just talking about the whole pitching situation with starters. Why would you invest, that prospect capital in an area where you already feel that you're strong?
Yeah, it's
So
true.
if you're trading for Hader, you're trading for Hader to be the closer. And the Toronto Blue Jays are not going to be trading for a closer. They'll be trading for a guy that they can slide into a setup role, a high leverage, late game role. That's why Liam Hendricks could fit in. Liam Hendricks would not demand that closer role.
Yeah.
He could be the closer, but he wouldn't demand it like Hader would demand it.
That's a good point. And Hader's also about to be in line for a huge contract too. So they would probably want to keep him as close.
Yes, if you're San Diego, you can give the qualifying offer.
Yeah.
Right? And you trade him if you're the Toronto if the Blue Jays trade or anybody trades for Josh Hader, you cannot give him the qualifying offer.
Yep.
So San Diego, it makes there's so many reasons why San Diego should hold on to him.
Yeah, it's true. He's nasty. He's nasty, Josh.
Yeah, he's great. I would love him on the Blue Jays, but I don't. It's just one of those things where I can't see it happening because it would require Toronto to give up some top prospects.
Yeah.
It would require Ricky Tiedemann going to San Diego, and I wouldn't want to do that, right? I would
Yeah.
want to if I'm trading Ricky Tiedemann away, I want to know that I'm getting a starting. I kind of want to get what I think Ricky Tiedemann might be if I'm trading him away. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
want to get the guy who I think Ricky Tiedemann can be a really good starting pitcher. So I want to trade him for a guy who is already a really good starting pitcher at the major league level. Because Ricky Tiedemann, who knows, he may get to the major league level and not be able to strike guys out,
Yeah.
or he'll dominate. You don't know yet. You don't know until he's out there doing it.
So true. It's gonna. This is why I like talking. It's gonna be really interesting. Like next month's gonna be. We're gonna have more insight as to what the heck's gonna be going on at the trade
Mhm.
deadline. We're like, damn,
Yeah.
it looks different next month, and
Yeah,
that's
we got a good gotta need to get a good handle on who's buying and who's
yeah.
selling.
I
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, I think the Diamondbacks are gonna make some moves. They're gonna want to try to
Yeah, me
solidify.
too.
Um,
Their general manager was on that podcast with John Heyman and Joel Sherman talking about how pitching is going to be a priority for them.
yeah, they need.
So, add them to the list of teams that will be looking at the guys that I've identified: Jack Flaherty, Lucas Giolito, Marcus Stroman, Shane Bieber.
True.
I can see Arizona being in that mix for those guys, and there will be other starters, but the Diamondbacks have Gallen and Kelly.
Yeah.
That's really it. So at the very least, they want to get another mid to top line rotation guy. They're not going to be looking for rotation depth. They're going to be looking for that impact arm.
Yeah. They need a third. They need a third guy there.
Hmm.
Um, I think that on Texas Rangers, I think they're gonna go after bullpen. So I could see the
Hmm.
Rangers going after somebody like Chapman or somebody like Barlow or
Hmm.
something like that. So
Hmm.
I think that's where they're gonna go. And I think probably, like I said, Baltimore. I think they're gonna shock some people. But I think Texas
Yeah.
and Diamondbacks will probably be the most aggressive at the deadline.
I
So
think I think Lucas Giolito might be the guy that has the most swirling around his name.
I would
I
agree.
think I think he's the guy. I because the Stroman thing, I think some teams might shy away from Stroman. Um, I'm not sold that Cleveland is going to trade Shane Bieber. The Cardinals could convince themselves not to trade Flaherty, or even open up those discussions. The Eduardo Rodriguez injury is a problem because his return timetable could take him right up to the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Erod is in the equation because he'll opt out.
Oh
He'll
yeah.
opt out because he's got more money that he could go and make. So it really, like, Lucas Giolito is the guy that I think you'll hear everybody. So then we start to get to, okay, of those buyers, who's going to pay the most for him?
Yeah.
And that's where you got to start to think about, well, will Arizona pay? Will Baltimore pay? Because there'll be other teams that are also that it will probably there will probably be 10 serious teams in on Lucas Giolito.
Yeah. Yeah.
And will Baltimore, I mean, the Yankees missed out on, we saw it with Luis Castillo last year, where there
Yeah.
were a bunch of teams in on him and it got competitive. And the return for Luis Castillo was
Oh
insane.
yeah.
So the whole Giolito thing, now it's not the same situation, but it's kind of similar in terms of
Hmm.
he could be the top guy, and there could be a lot of teams vying for him.
I think he might be this year's Castillo. So I really do.
He
So
could,
at the
and he's been
deadline.
pitching. His last time out was really good.
Yeah, he's
Um,
6 no-hit innings with the friggin' Yankees, so yeah.
yeah.
Son of a
No, it was a judge-free Yankee team, right? So it
yeah,
was
yes,
it
it was.
was it was like Yankees 0. It was the 0 calorie version of the New York Yankees. So
Yeah,
it's not like he was facing the Coke heavy Yankees, the all the calories and all the sugar and all the aspartame and all the shit that's going to kill you at 70.
yeah,
Um, but that's he's Giolito's going
yes.
to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see whether they're gonna move Dylan Cease to I wonder if the White Sox are gonna tear it down. I don't know.
I don't think so because that division. I mean, now the Twins have won a couple games against the Blue Jays, so somebody's back above 500 again in the
Yeah.
Central. But that's the situation, right? So if you're the White Sox, you've got a bunch of talented players under contract beyond next year. Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Dylan Cease, Andrew Benintendi. You've got a stable of guys
Yeah.
that you can say, Michael Kopech's another one, that you can say this is our core, and we don't have to win 100 games to make the playoffs and win the
Yeah.
division. We could probably we got to get to 80. We got to set a goal of 85, and if it looks like that's going to be light, then we'll make a trade at the deadline. But the goal needs to be 85, and we can do that with this group of guys. So I think with the White Sox purposes, my gut said it's going to be all those players that either are going to be or could be via options and opt-outs, could be free agents at the end of the year. So that's Liam Hendricks, Joe Kelly, Lucas Giolito, Lance Lynn, and Yasmani Grandal are the 5 to watch, in my opinion.
I would agree.
And Kelly's been pitching well too. Kelly would be a nice bullpen addition, and Kelly shouldn't cost much. I don't know. Would Kelly go to the Yankees? He's an old Red Sox guy.
Well,
I don't know what his feelings are about the Yankees.
I mean, he's playoff tested, so I mean, if I was going to do a Giolito, I would try to get one of those relievers with him, Kelly, Aaron Bummer, Garrett Crochet, something like that.
You know, what about? Do you think? Well, you guys have a bunch of catchers. You know, you've got a very good defensive catcher with Trevino, right? You love him behind the dish, and Higashioka is dependable to a degree. Grandal for a couple months to see what you got. Switch hitter, you get the lefty appeal there. You know, he's been better this year. He can draw walks. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember if he's drawing walks this year, but like, what if it was like a Kelly and Grandal combo for, you know, not much? Let's say you give him Davy Garcia. Send him Davy Garcia. Yes. Yeah, send that duo over for Kelly and Grandal. Why not? Why not?
Shit.
See what you got. See what you got.
Oh my god. I honestly, I could see these guys lining up for a multiplayer trade. Like,
yeah,
I really could. I mean, when was the last time they had Todd Frazier, Robertson, and Canely, right? In that trade, I don't even remember what the hell they sent them, but those are the 3 guys they got back from the White Sox.
Right.
I could see that. I mean, what if it was like Giolito, Kelly, and Grandal? You know, like a beefy trade, and that addresses pretty much all the Yankees needs in one trade. Like,
it's that'll just depend on the market for Giolito.
Yeah.
Like I could almost hear the conversation going on between the two sides where, you know, the White Sox are saying, well, no, look, the Mets or the Dodgers are going to give us 2 top 5s for Giolito. You got to do the same. And the Yankees could go, you know, could come back and say, all right, look, we can't do that. We can give you 2 top 10s, but you got to throw in Kelly. So, like, I can see one of those guys being added into the deal because it kind of gets into that level. And then the White Sox, who are bullshitting the Yankees about the offer they're getting from the Mets, say done, right? I think that's how you could find your way to a 2-player trade with Giolito and somebody else.
True.
Is that, you know, Cashman's like, okay, we'll give you the 2 top 10s, but you gotta give me a bullpen piece. You gotta give me Liam Hendricks. And, you know, I don't know about Hendricks because Hendricks is going to be on an island by himself getting, you know, trade inquiries. But, you know, maybe Kelly or Giolito's a guy, not Giolito, but Grandal's a guy that, you know, can be added in depending on the pieces.
Grandal would be an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know how many people are talking about it, but he's going to be a guy like nobody was talking about Whit Merrifield last year when Whit was traded by Kansas City to Toronto. So there are guys that are going to be like, oh, I did not see that coming.
Yeah. Never
So,
know.
and he could be a guy that there's a path to it. Whenever I think about trades and who could be traded and why and where and all that, I try to think about all the paths, and there's things that could lead you down that road. And Grandal can be a free agent. I think he is a free agent, or he's got an option.
I think
I
so.
mean, the White Sox are going to take none of these options. Let me pull it up real quick. The White Sox have club options on so many guys. They have a club option on Lance Lynn, a club option on Liam Hendricks, a club option on Tim Anderson, which they will take because
Yeah.
that's 14 million. They have a club option on Joe Kelly for 9.5. Don't know if they'll take that. Grandal is a free agent straight up at the end of the year. And I don't, well, the qualifying offer is not even going to come into play here. That's not even a situation to think about. So those are the guys. And then again, you've got Lucas Giolito, Reynaldo Lopez, and Kenyon Middleton are in their final years of arbitration.
Okay.
Dylan Cease still has 2 more years of arbitration. That's why I don't think he's going anywhere, because this is his first year of
Yeah.
arbitration. This
Yeah.
is Michael Kopech's first year of
Yeah.
arbitration. They won't go anywhere.
No, I mean they're gonna ask for a Corbin Burns type return. If somebody says I want Dylan Cease, and they'll rightfully so. How can they not?
Well, and even Dylan Cease, now's not the time to. Let's say you were entertaining it. Now's not the time to do it because he's got a 4.38 ERA.
Yeah.
So they're gonna, whoever's trying to trade for Dylan Cease is gonna lowball you, or you're
Yeah.
going to perceive that they're lowballing you because he's not pitching as effectively. He's
Mhm.
another guy not pitching as effectively as he was before the pitch clock. These teams have to be thinking about that. Like,
Mhm.
this guy's not as good as he was last year. Is it because it's just a down year, or is it because of the pitch clock? Sandy Alcantara, his ERA is up. Now his FIP isn't that bad, but he's still not as good as he was last year.
Yeah.
Are these guys not as good as they were last year because it's just been a few bad starts?
Yeah.
Or is this a pitch clock thing? These front office guys better be thinking about that.
Yeah. These guys. Yeah. These guys better go to the lab and get the right questions asked, and make sure they know exactly what they're
By the way,
asking.
have you seen Shane Bieber's K rate?
I've not this year.
It is, so he's pitched 80 innings and he's got 55 strikeouts.
Oh, really?
This is a guy that when he won the Cy Young, like, he had a K per 9 rate of like 11 or 12 or so. I'm doing all this off memory, so it may be off by a few numbers, but like it was like 11 or 12 was his K per 9 rate when he won the Cy Young, and it is just
7
plummeted.
now. It's like 7.
Yeah, it's way down. Now he's still pitching well, right? Like, I
Yeah.
only know this because I just did a video on him. I think he's got like 13 starts, 8 of them he has kept the opponent to under 3 runs.
Mhm.
So, like, I mean, he's got an ERA of 3.5, and that's really because 2 times he got roughed up. But outside of that, it's been 3 or fewer runs. So he's out there giving the team a chance to win every time.
He's been
But
pretty
his
good.
K rate is way down.
Wow. Jesus.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty low.
that's, if you're thinking about trading, that's the only reason why, like, you kind of start to wonder, like, mm, maybe they do trade him because you see
Yeah.
about the bloom being off the rose,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like, if he's not dominant, because a mid 3 ERA with a K rate around 7,
Maybe
that's not special,
that's gonna profile as a number 3 or a number 4.
right?
And
Right.
that's yeah.
So you're still at this point, you feel like you can still trade the name. The name has weight.
True.
But if you're 12 months from now, if it's June of 2024 and he's been doing this, that name isn't going to carry as much weight as it once
Yeah.
did.
So true. And that's a good point. That's a really good point. I mean, and again, teams will under offer and lowball for these reasons, right? So
Yeah.
and expect, but again, I could just see the counters, trading the name and trading the underperformance. So it's that one will be. I think you're right. It'll probably make it harder to move a guy like Bieber. So,
Right.
um, and again, it would be a little bit more ideal if it was around 9, but I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
Is his velocity? See any difference? Like Luis Severino, his velocity is now like 5 or 6 miles an hour since this season.
Is it really?
Yeah, he's going
I
from like
haven't seen that on his
98 to,
velocity.
yeah, it's like 98, he's throwing 92, 93. So and essentially topping out at 95 on occasion, but like his velocity is way the hell down, Luis Severino. So
That's
and
crazy.
that's a red flag, man.
Oh, that is a red flag.
So
What
he
is
averages 98 to 100 on a regular basis, but like
right?
not now. Yeah.
His four seamer, the velocity is even.
Even
His four seamer was 91 last year. It's sitting at 91 this year.
okay.
Where is here we go, the pitch mix. I love looking at the pitch mix too. So his four seam fastball, he's throwing at the same amount. His slider, he's throwing a little bit less. He's throwing a cutter way more this year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, he threw the cutter 15% of the time. This year, he's up to almost 26% of the time. And he throws curveball a lot less. Curveball, he threw last year about 18%. It's down to 11% this year. So
Selection can have a
this
lot.
is the kind, like we talked about Manoah a little bit ago. Shane Bieber might be doing that because that's how he's got to pitch.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot, I mean, he's been able to sustain his fastball velocity. His slider is marginally down. So that's not enough to like, you know, judge anything. The cutter is even, is flat in terms of velocity from last year's the same. And again, that curveball that he's throwing less. I mean, so you're not seeing a velocity dip with Bieber, but he's also changed his pitch mix.
Yeah.
You know, last year he put the fastball was 20% put away ratio. This year it's 11.
Like the ball's being put in play more, but at least it's not crushing him. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yep.
so I mean that's a good thing. That's a good
Yeah.
thing. But again, a guy that's known to have a lot of strikeouts, you definitely don't want to have that much of a drop off. That's a huge drop. That's like 40% drop off. My God, that's
Mm-hmm.
a lot. 12 to like 7. Shoot, Jesus, that's a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yep.
So, yeah, I. That's a really good point, man. That is a good point. So, I mean, I'm really curious. Like, I will do this again next month. I think things will change.
Oh yeah, this month when we revisit, and it is July 10th. I mean, I know we spent about half the time talking trades. I have a feeling
I love that
it'll
stuff.
be exclusively a trade conversation.
Which
We'll
is
kind of
cool.
touch base on what's going on, but it's going to be a heavy trade
I
conversation.
agree. I mean, we're gonna
Mhm.
know a hell of a lot more next month.
Yeah, it'll
So,
be trade season. We will be in trade season on July 10th. There will be rumors everywhere. Maybe a deal or two will have happened. There will be because there's always one or two,
yep.
right, that are on the radar. Not the big names, right? With Stroman or Giolito or any they won't have been traded.
Yeah.
But I think you could see, maybe Chapman is traded early, right? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
Roldis Chapman gets dealt early. Maybe Jerkson Profar he
Profile.
gets traded early. Maybe one of those White Sox guys gets pried away early before it gets crazy. I mean, if you're a team, it makes sense. Is that team willing to sell early? Because maybe you can get in there before the price,
Yeah.
shoots through the roof.
Good point. It's a good point. A guy like a
Yeah.
Randall Grichuk or even a Daniel Bard or something like that could be moved too. So,
You could get Grichuk on the cheap right now.
uh,
And he's hitting. Bring him
yeah.
over, see what he's doing. Let's
he,
go.
he was
Right?
he was a Yankee killer. So, I mean, we just
Yeah.
love him to get him away from other teams who could bring him over to be a Yankee killer. So, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, guys and gals, whoever's in here, be ready for next month because it's
Fun.
gonna be on fire.
It'll be fun. It'll be a fun one next when we get together on or about July 10th, about
Yeah,
mid
man.
July. We'll get together. We'll do it again. Maybe we'll time it so that we're even a little bit closer.
Yeah,
We're June 10th now. maybe we kind of time it out to do like July 15th or something like that.
Yeah, that works.
When we're like 2 weeks out or something like that,
I'm
when
looking
we
forward to it,
know.
man. I'm looking forward to it. We went a lot longer today, but I hope you guys and gals enjoyed it, man. Jim, I
Yeah.
want to thank you for coming on, man.
Thank
This
you for
was
having me.
really good conversation, a lot of good insight, a lot of good information. So this is why I do this type of stuff. So I appreciate you, man. And keep doing what you're doing. Guys and gals, if you haven't checked out BallCap Sports, please do. Okay, it's one of the better channels out there. I'm telling you. Great content, great information, great insight. Please do. Please support it by subscribing too.
Appreciate
So
it.
and
Appreciate it.
yeah, man. If you enjoy this content, hit the like button, gang. Thanks so much for coming on, and thanks so much for watching us and supporting us. And peace and love to all yous. Jim, I'll talk to you next time. Keep up the good work, my man. Talk
All
to
right,
you later.
man. See you, Jason. See ya.
Later, man. Later, man.
Later.